Think back a couple of decades or so to the talk show wars. It was a time when Oprah, Jerry Springer, Geraldo, and more were all over the dial during the afternoon. Despite what you may have seen on Donahue or Springer, there was one talk show host who was just a little more out there than the rest. Jeremy Newberger created a documentary about that talk show host. He's the producer and director of Evocateur, and he's here to tell me more about it. Jeremy, thank you so much for being with us today.
Pleasure to be here.
And we are talking about Morton Downey Jr., the guy with the mouth and all the teeth.
Yes. If he was here today, he probably would have eaten the dog that you just had on the show in the last segment. He was a bit of a maniac.
Yeah.
He, you know, he was one of the early populist entertainers. We see a lot of that today on television and on radio, whether it's a Rush Limbaugh or a Glenn Beck type. They had a conservative opinion and they would jam it down your throat. And he had such anger that it appealed to the blue-collar segment of society who had that shared anger that, gosh, the government is screwing us and we're not happy and we can't take it anymore. And he just tapped into that. And his anger was contagious.
A lot of people would say that, you know, he was the precursor to Springer. He inspired that show. I would disagree because Jerry was very different from that. He was far more laid back with his guests.
Laid back, and it was a circus act he had on. You know, Morton Downey Jr. had legitimate guests talking about real issues.
Like Pat Buchanan at some point.
Pat Buchanan, Alan Dershowitz, Gloria Allred, Al Sharpton. That's where I first learned of Al Sharpton. I was a high school kid watching the Morton Downey Jr. show back in the late 80s. That's why I had this epiphany with my partners to make this film. I liked it. Something about it appealed to me. I don't know if it was because I watched professional wrestling and I liked the good guys and the bad guys doing battle, but I wasn't alone. The show was a national sensation. One of the professors at this university also watched it. He's in the film, Professor Josh Rothman. So it wasn't just me. It was a big part of the population watching it, and I think our film is going to bring those people back to that time.
Now, should we look back on our time watching Morton Downey Jr. and go, God, what was I thinking? What a dope. Why would I have ever followed this guy? Or did he just kind of tap into something that's innate in all of us? You mentioned, you know, good guys versus bad guys, sort of these themes. And it was a show in every sense of the word. I mean, his family, he comes from a Hollywood-type family where people were singers and dancers and entertainers, and I think he had some aunts that made it kind of big in Hollywood for a little while.